All right, going live.
Okay.
Okay, what's up, everybody? I see lots of people in the chat already. 160 of you guys already. We're doing today. We're doing the 64 audio U12t giveaway, as the title suggests, and I have with me our resident 64 audio U12t enthusiast, or fellow
Shell.
enthusiast. Exactly. Um, Yeah, so I figured what we would do is we'll do a Q&A session here a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit about the U12T. We'll give our respective thoughts on that, even though if you haven't checked it out yet, Precog Vision has done a review of the U12T at some point, right?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure you've done
yeah.
a review at some point.
No,
Uh,
yeah.
so definitely check that out. I think I've done one as well at one
Yeah,
point.
you have.
Yeah. But yeah, so then what we'll do after the Q&A session is we will do the giveaway, but I want to let everybody know in the chat, if you haven't signed up yet, there's a link in the description to the sign up form. I know that the sign up form was like a little bit tricky for people to use on mobile, but for whatever reason, if I use the other method of implementing it with the software, it completely breaks the page. So this was like the the best case scenario. If you had any trouble, if you're on mobile and you had any trouble, just load the page in desktop mode, and then that should work for you. But without further ado, let's get into it. Oh yeah, and of course there is also the Blanche cable that we're giving away. So yeah, let's get into it. First, we might as well talk about the U12T, and
Yeah, sure.
I want to get, I guess, your thoughts on. Well, first of all, I guess just why do you love the U12T so much?
Because it's the best IM on the market. It's
Clearly,
like every IM that I've heard, like there's some flaw to it. But then
yeah,
like the U12T, like it's not perfect, but it gets like 90% there in everything.
yeah,
Whereas most other IMs are like, like 70% there, and they can like sort of beat the U12T in one aspect or another, but they
yeah,
just don't get everything correct as well.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like it's less of a jack of all trades. Sorry, it is more of a jack of all trades
it
and
is a jack of all trades. Yeah,
less of a party trick.
specialist I am, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Like I was thinking about like the Legend X. Well, I hadn't heard the SE, but like the Legend X, as far as like its
Hmm.
technicalities, it's like that's very much a technical specialist.
Yeah, yeah.
But the U12D is the all rounder. Um,
Hmm.
and like if I think about the things that are like, at least for me, the 90% instead of the 100%, it's like it's a little relaxed in the ear gain region, right? And if I'm listening to jazz,
Right.
it's like maybe I want a little bit more, but at the same time, there are other genres I listen to where I wouldn't want
Hmm.
more, right? So
Yeah,
it kind of
exactly.
walks that line very
Hmm.
well. I see some super chats coming in here. Andre, thank you.
Okay.
Andrew Loki looking like a snack. I don't know about that. Rob Hawk, once again, thank you, sir. You are a continued supporter of this channel, and it's much appreciated. Precog is a Jedi, someone says. Precog is the best IEM reviewer. Uh,
Thank you,
I, I
but
I agree, and
I
some where
don't know
Crit
if I
is
agree
crying.
with that.
uh, we got to see if Crin gets into the chat. Let's see. Dean, thank you. Okay, so here's a question from Dean. Please find out what the resulting FR and experience would be if the Sindar is run from the IFI audio hip jack with the bass boost on. Thanks okay, I will. I'll investigate this because apparently there was the. I'm not sure if you heard about this, but there was apparently an IFI Zencan
Hmm.
Hi-Fi Man edition that was like, I
Oh,
don't know if it's
what?
a rumor or if it's like actually announced or anything, but someone was talking about it on the last
Okay.
live stream, and I imagine that they, the same way that they did that thing for the 6XX, they might
Uh-huh.
do something for the Hi-Fi Man thing. But what I would be concerned about is like what like who they're talking to, because they haven't talked to me about this. I'm concerned about what the feedback is going to be that's going to make them make changes in the analog domain. Because on
Hmm.
6XX, when they did that for I think they did it for drop, whatever feedback they got was the wrong feedback because it resulted in yeah, it resulted in the wrong thing.
Yikes.
Like
Okay.
yeah. So I just hope it's the right feedback.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
Here's
yeah.
here's a question for you. Corinne Precog
Hmm.
IEM live stream when? Have we done
Oh,
that? I don't know if we've done that.
no, I don't think so. No.
Uh, that might be
And the other difficulty is that Korean's on a totally different time zone, so we'd have to
yeah.
like coordinate on that.
I imagine since he's getting more into video and YouTube these days, that maybe
Yeah,
that's
definitely
something.
on the table probably.
Yeah,
I'd love to do that.
yeah, exactly. Um, so okay, apart from just getting back to the U12t,
Hmm.
apart from the, I guess, tonal balance related excellence,
Hmm.
you've listened to the SA6, right?
Yes, I have.
So, like, in your opinion, and I get this question all the time, the
Hmm.
distance between the SA6 and the U12t, because the tuning is very similar. What would you say is like the key difference there, and how much of a difference is between the SA6 and the
Key
U12t?
difference. Um, it's probably just comes down to like detail and imaging, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The U excuse me, the SA6, it has like I think a similar like sort of transients to it. It has pretty nice bass like the U12T, and then it has sort of that slight wetness to the transients in the way they attack, but it's just not quite there in the detail department. I think I'd put it at like a maybe like a 6 out of 10 versus a 9 out of 10 in detail.
Right. So there's a pretty big jump there still when you go.
Yeah,
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 that's a fair
yeah.
assessment. It's got to be. I don't know. I know that on the SA6 they use the vented Sonyan woofers. Did you was
Yeah, that definitely
did
makes a difference.
Did you mention that the U12T also uses Sonyan BAs?
Yeah, I think it definitely uses Sonyan woofers, but I'm not sure if they are the vented ones.
Right, not maybe not the same, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. I did not see, like, that's the thing is the only thing I really know about them is that they've used the Tia drivers, the tubeless
Yeah, yeah,
Tia
yeah.
drivers. But
64 uses a lot of the Sonyan stuff, I think.
okay,
And that's sort of responsible for what gives them that sort of more natural timbre to some
yeah,
extent.
it was interesting talking to Tom from Dunu about.
Hmm.
We didn't talk specifically about that, but he was mentioning there are benefits to using. I feel like it was Tom we were talking to. Maybe it was somebody else, but mentioning the benefits of using the Knowles BAs because they could count on their consistency. Like they were like specific. That was the main reason. But
Oh
for
yeah,
some,
yeah, yeah. Torque was telling me about that too. I
yeah,
think Sonyan is like their quality control is actually less consistent, so they have to go through
yeah.
more units before they get desired ones.
So yeah, so it increases reliability. But I wonder if
Hmm.
that incurs some sort of trade off as far as like because it's just to me they sound different. Like the Sonyan ones sound different from the
Yeah, yeah, they sound a little bit different.
yeah. But anyways, I mean, I was thinking about the Tamchin Darling as well, where it's just it had a very different kind of BA character to it. But
Hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah.
um, anyways, I guess we should get into more of the chat here. Let's see if there's any
Hmm.
questions, and feel free to if you see any questions that you want to answer, by all means,
Okay.
give her. U12T or IER-Z1R with fit not being an issue.
It not being an issue. So like once upon a time, I think I would have said the Z1R. Like when I first heard it, it definitely has that wow factor. And like the imaging on it is insane. It's really the closest that I've heard to like a two-channel speaker system. But then over time that I think that sort of like special sauce effect sort of wears off and it gets becomes a little bit too aggressive, a little bit too fatiguing. It's also got some coherency issues
Mm.
that in retrospect I should have maybe been more aware of. So I think I would say in the long run, I would go for the U12T, but if it was just for like a short period of time, I still like listening to the Z1R sometimes.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because like I have this like what you're getting at here kind of speaks to like a larger kind of topic about, you know, just headphone and audio equipment in general. And it's that like you might fall in love with a particular quality of a certain piece of equipment or a headphone or whatever, and when you're listening to music, you might love that quality about it, but that's still almost like a different listening mode from when you're just listening for your music. I talked a little bit about this in the last one, last live stream, but it's something where it's like, it's almost like if you weren't once the that initial novelty of like detail or bass texture or whatever it is that you're like, you know, really enjoying about a thing kind of wears off.
Yeah.
And you start to just like, you know, get back into listening to your music and enjoying your music. I almost feel like there's probably a difference in terms of what's going to be most enjoyed long term versus what's going to be most enjoyed in the short term. And I think the
yeah, for sure,
what you just mentioned about the Z1R versus the U12t is a kind of good demonstration of that.
Right.
Yeah. I saw some other questions in here. The cable on the U12t. What are your thoughts on that? I have some thoughts. But
ass. Horrible cable. Probably one of the worst cables that I've seen at like the flagship level.
Stiff somehow.
It's got it's like it's got the memory wire too, and it's just the worst texture to it that I have felt on a stock cable.
Which is why we're giving away the Blanche cable as well, which is one of the best. So I'm not sure if you get a chance to try that one out, the Blanche.
Actually, what are your thoughts on the Blanche cable? I actually haven't had a chance to
I liked it. So like the funny thing is initially we weren't going to do the Blanche cable giveaway. We were just going to give the other Dunu cable away, like the regular Dunu cable, which is solid. Yeah,
it's good. It's one of my favorite cables.
DW03 or whatever, I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, it's a solid cable. But the reason why we did we moved to the Blanche for the giveaway was because the Blanche is the one that has all the different tips, all the different ends to the cable.
Oh, okay.
So like when you buy the Dunu,
includes them.
Yeah, when you buy the Dunu IEM, it includes them. But then if you buy the separate cable, it's the Blanche that comes with that. But then when I took and it was kind of funny because like I'd already done all the photos for the for the U12t giveaway with the previous cable, and then we were like, let's put the Blanche cable in there because for all the tips I had to redo all the photos. When I took the Blanche cable out of the box, I was like, holy crap! It's it feels great, looks great. Probably my favorite cable. Like the main difference I think between the Blanche and the DW whatever cable is the DW is like a little bit more springy, whereas the Blanche is less springy. That's sort of how I would describe it. And the Blanche, it's also like almost like a tighter weave.
I see.
If that makes sense. Yeah. But this gets into the question of, do cables make a difference? I think for these aspects it does, but not necessarily sound quality.
Can't comment on the sound.
Yeah,
really.
Exactly. Anything else? Let's see. There is an interesting question here about podcasting and streaming. My question is based on directional audio. How is the directional audio with gaming, for example, for podcasting? The live voices and making I don't know if I understand this question.
I don't get that.
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
But I think he's probably referring to like U12t.
Is this within the context of U12t?
I would assume so. But like the answer there, I think there actually, I'll reframe the question here. What's your opinion on IEMs and in-head localization and staging for something like gaming? I know you're not a gamer, but like a lot of people ask that question. And I was talking with Kryn not that long ago about, you know, IEMs and soundstage, and he was saying that like it really doesn't, like, if you really care about soundstage, it
doesn't matter for games, right?
Yeah, that's what.
Like, I think the general consensus is that you can get away with using IEMs just as well as headphones for gaming, because the localization is just pretty basic. Yeah,
but so what I think is interesting about that is like when you listen to something like a KXXS, you compare that against a Legend X, there's a very clear difference in terms of soundstage.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, you know, but at the same time, it's still not like it's still not like listening to speakers, for example. It's still not actual soundstage.
No, No, it's all in your head. Like
Yeah,
it's all psychoacoustics.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like I was thinking about that too. The things that I imagine influence soundstage, apart from frequency response, would be limited to what's possible in the physical space. And if you have something further away from you, maybe there's a perception that it's like, larger, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But all the rest is likely psychoacoustic. Yeah. Um. Okay, let's see some more questions here. I like the SA6, but it is a bit narrow on the soundstage. Getting to what we're talking about, I like the Dunu
Yeah.
Zen with EQ more than the SA6. Interesting.
Oh.
There, I'd almost want to say check out the Zen Pro. I like the SA6 more than the Zen but I can see why somebody
Yeah.
would. It's got that. It's got that dynamics.
It's pretty different. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Opinion on Chi-Fi keep on copying Crin's preference target and not trying other FR presentation. Relaxed pinna gain like U12t and UE18. So actually, I don't quite understand that because like is the suggestion that the U12t is not like Crin's target? It's not quite like.
I don't think it is because
Yeah.
the U12t has that sort of more. It has more relaxed pinna, like,
Yeah.
and it sort of dips the upper mid range, whereas Crin's target tends to. It's not quite to the degree of like the Harman target, but it falls somewhere in the middle between the two, I think,
Yeah.
in terms of the pinna and the upper mid range.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways it speaks to. I just find like the whole IEM like preference target thing. Now we have the like, every IEM reviewer, including us, we have our own preference targets.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you compare that to like what the sort of established sort of rule book is for targets for over-ear headphones, and it's like something from Harman. Don't you
Yeah,
dare
they're
use
all very
anything
similar.
else.
All of our targets are just
Yeah, yeah.
very similar at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Just slight
it's true.
variations.
Actually, except for supers, isn't supers way more like?
This is based on the Blessing 2,
Oh, is it?
which
Okay.
is
Okay, interesting.
Harman.
I was gonna say
Mostly,
I thought his had more ear gain than mine did because mine was based on the clairvoyance, or at least the clairvoyance that
Probably
we
does.
received, the first one.
Yeah.
So interesting. But to me, it's like the fact that there are these IEMs like the SA6 and the Kiwi Ears Orchestra and some of these other different tunings that seem to do well, right? It kind of just speaks to it, like the IEM world is kind of demonstrating that it's okay to have different targets. You can have different versions of good sounding things, whereas it feels like that's taboo in the the over ear headphone world.
Yeah.
So like to see more. This was my criticism of Harman, actually, was that like they
Oh, really?
we only use one target, right?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Someone was asking if a dongle will run the U12t well, or if you need a decent source, and the answer is that yeah, you can definitely run it off a dongle. Like I listen to off of the Apple dongle all the time, and I love it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that like, yeah, and then it's got a flat impedance curve too, so it's not going to mess with the sound signature or anything.
Right.
Like with the
So it's not you're not
like
going to
something
boost
with the Andromeda.
Right.
Yeah.
What is the impedance of the Apple dongle?
I think it's less than 1 ohm.
Oh, so it wouldn't change it even. Yeah.
Not really. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit on the Andromeda, but yeah. But that's then the benefit
It
of
definitely makes a difference on the Andromeda. It makes it more bassy and dulls the treble a little bit. That's on the Android 2020 though. The Android 2019 has the opposite effect.
Oh,
So
really? I didn't know that. Huh.
yeah. I was surprised to notice that too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with the 64 audio stuff, they're all about the linear impedance design, so that you don't have to worry about that.
No, yeah, I'm definitely on board with that too. I don't like.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I see the appeal sort of messing around with sources to sort of fine tune it, but at the same time, it's not good in terms of consistency.
Yeah. I remember I asked you about when we were having some fun with the U6T, and I asked you about like your favorite like modules for that one.
Yeah.
What module do you gravitate more towards with the U12T?
M20.
So the big bass boy.
M20. Yeah. The thing with the M15 one is that it brings up the like because when your perception of the bass shifts, so does the treble. And the U12t has like a fat peak at like 15K, like really high up in the air frequencies, and that's sort of what gives it that really nice zing and micro detail.
Hmm.
And it just becomes a little bit too much for me with the M15 module. And
Right.
then the M20 module sort of tames it a little bit, just a hair.
Interesting. Um, helps to be a bass head.
Yeah, yeah.
No. Did you try any of the Fur audio modules as well?
No, I haven't. I really want to try those though,
Yeah.
because like apparently the N0 module from Fur, it sits just under the M15 module. If you
Hmm.
look at the MX and the M15 modules, they make a big difference with the 64 stuff, but the Fur one is more of a true MX in my opinion, from what I've seen.
Right. Right. Cool. I'll need to check that out as well. I know there's. I
Yeah.
think Titian was talking about there. Were a number of folks on the forum were talking about
They
that.
like it with the Neo, I think.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
the N0 with the Neo. Like they're saying it's the ideal pairing.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. It'd be interesting to measure that as well. See kind of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
where it lands. Um, all right. So here's another question for you. Why would someone choose an IEM rather than a set of over-ear headphones? Other than, or is it just form/fit preference? I
I
have
mean,
I have somewhat of an answer as well.
I feel like for me at least, tonal balance is a lot easier to sort of find. Like good tonal balance is easier to find in an in-ear and it's a lot easier to achieve. Whereas with over ears, like I have yet to hear a headphone that I think has good tonal balance, like or like my ideal tonal
Mm,
balance at least.
mhm.
And then it's also just sort of a preference thing. If you like hearing stuff up like close and more intimate, then you're gonna prefer IEMs
Yeah,
over ears.
that's a good point. My other reasoning was that it's very difficult, but when it comes to closeback stuff and that use case, I think that the IEM tunings
Oh
have been
yeah.
figured out in ways that it's way more difficult to do with. Because with over ears, you're typically just using, except in some examples, but in most cases, you're just using one driver. And even in IEMs, it's
Mhm.
difficult to do that with just one driver. But because, as Tom was saying, all the modeling has sort of been figured out for that stuff to get the tunings
Mhm.
to where
Yeah.
the way they want them to be. It's easier to achieve those tunings, the more desirable tunings. Which
Mhm.
is kind of funny because there will inevitably be ones that come out that are weird, like the campfire stuff,
Mhm.
the latest campfire stuff. Um, and you'd like to think, well, theoretically it could be tuned to something a little bit more agreeable, and we're seeing that from Chi-Fi, which is nice. Here's
Mhm.
another a question that is kind of fun. Hey, Precog, in your latest video, you said dynamics and punch and slam are not the same, or maybe it's dynamics
Uh-huh.
and punch and slam are not the same. And Andrew also talked about it. Can you elaborate? I'm interested in finding out the difference between dynamics and punch and slam. It's also one of the reasons why I don't like the term dynamics because it's
It's a big rabbit hole.
yeah, yeah, but
It's just so confusing. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Um, how do you define it again? I think you did a write-up on the
I
forum. I
I did
saw
so
something.
yeah. So for me, those terms came from like a lot of people know this, but I used to be like an SBAFer, and a lot of those terms came
Hmm.
from that forum. But those terms, as they were used there, came from much older stuff. They came from like
Yeah,
way
yeah.
earlier days when they got used in an article like a long time ago. So they sort of been, I guess, co-opted over time to mean different things. Um, but the terms were macrodynamics and microdynamics, but in the communities that I'm in, they still use those terms, but it's more like it's more just shifting, I think, to punch and slam or macro contrast or
Uh-huh.
something like that. And I think it's
Yeah.
probably better to not refer to them as dynamics because it really isn't dynamics, and the dynamics aspects get they confuse the issue in my opinion. So in
Hmm.
some ways I prefer talking about macro contrast or just liveliness or
Okay.
punchiness or that kind
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it sort of simplifies it a little more too, I think.
Yeah. I don't know,
Yeah.
what's your take on that stuff?
Um, yeah, the way I define it is just sort of an aggregate of everything that I've read.
Mhm.
Like, and a lot of that definitely comes from SBAF, but yeah, I don't really have a set
Yeah.
consistency to the way I use them. I should probably narrow that down as well a
Yeah.
little bit more.
But I do like how you described, the contrast quality as like, the the volume swings and stuff like that, which
Yeah.
I
That's
mean
how
that
I'd
does
kind
help.
of define it.
Yeah, and as,
Yeah.
that is also, it relates to the definition there that was given a long time ago on SBAF.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Fur audio's technology versus 64 audio. What do you think?
Have you heard of Fur Audio,
I've
Ian?
heard, yeah, I heard the
Oh, you have? Okay.
yeah, I heard the I heard two of them. The the one that comes in the yellow case and the one that comes in the red case. One of them's like twenty
What's
four hundred
that?
dollars. I can't remember the M5, M4 and M5.
M5. Oh, okay.
I think that sounds
Okay.
right. They were detailed, but also the tuning wasn't quite, for me.
All there.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I'd
And the
still.
other thing is, I think I've gone through like 4 or 5 revisions or
Oh, really?
something.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
if you look on Krin's graph tool, he's got like revision 1, revision 2,
Uh,
revision 3, revision 4,
yeah.
like all the way up to 7. So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't know. I probably heard an early revision then. We did a
Okay.
video on it on the channel,
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, but it was a long time ago. So like over, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're on now. I'd have to check out some new ones. But for me, it was like, you know the $2,400 one was like, I don't know why I would choose this over the U12t. That was sort of my take. Like it did
Okay.
some things really well, but like I just thought, like, I would still take the U12t. And then the M4 I think was close enough in price, so it was still kind of tricky.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, all right, let's see what else. Have you seen anything else in here? Um,
Mm. Oh, jeez. So,
I can wear IEM for long term without any discomfort, and comfort is important when choosing anything in life. This is so true. I consistently, I'll review things that are, you know, for their sound quality, and I might say something has an amazing, whatever sound quality, but realistically it wouldn't be something that I would personally choose to buy if I can't wear it for, comfortably for a long period of time.
Right.
So definitely is important. I mean, that's actually one of the only downside, well, not the only one, but one of the main downsides for me with the Key Ears Orchestra is that the back piece,
It's not comfortable for you?
it is comfortable initially, but then that, how like it has
Okay.
that weird little jutting out piece that bashes into like the back part of my ear a
Oh
little bit.
no.
Yeah, which is
Damn. That
it's
sucks.
unfortunate because I love that IEM. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Like I think Corinne gave it an A, and I would also give it an A, something like that.
Yeah. Something like that.
Clever tuning. Did you do a review of it? I can't remember.
Uh, FC Constructed.
Oh,
Yeah,
did he? Okay.
he did a review of it. But yeah, I've heard the Kiwi Ears Orchestra.
Yeah. Another excellent IEM from the gentleman who does the Theodia stuff.
JP.
Yeah. Yeah, he's somebody to follow, in my opinion.
JP's just crazy consistent.
Yeah. Yeah. Always good stuff. Um, oh, I see somebody says, let's talk Apex rolling for U12t. So Apex M15 for 17. Oh, is first 17 the one that, or you said was first 17 the one that was like less than the M15 module?
That's the N0, I think.
Oh, okay.
N0 is the, yeah.
Gotcha.
They also have an N13 as well, so that's that one too.
Okay. Cool. What's your take on the U12T versus the Tia Forte?
So yeah, that's definitely a good question. I want to say the Tia Forte is like it's super duper detailed. I think it might even have the edge on the U12T, and then the staging as well. That's what really stands out about it. Like because 64 audio makes use of like acoustic chambers, and then there's also some dips in the frequency response of the Forte that just makes it sound really, really open for an IM.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it's those dips that sort of detract from the overall tonal balance of the Forte, and it sort of makes it a wonky listen at times.
Yeah. Um,
So I would definitely say it's like technically competent, definitely even on par with the U12T in that regard, but it just sort of falls short in the tonal aspect side of things.
Yeah, to me it sounded like I was listening in a very specific room. I remember that thinking that, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Like, and that's like kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, where like I can understand and respect the technical aspects that are excellent about the Forte, but I know that I would prefer
Hmm.
listening to the U12t. You know,
Right, right.
um,
Like just very specific types of music that I felt worked well with the Forte. It was like,
yeah,
honestly, for me, it was a lot of like electronic stuff where I wasn't really familiar with the timbre of how things should
right,
sound. So it sounded pretty cool on the Forte, honestly.
right. Actually,
But when it
that's
came to
yeah,
like more normal stuff, like it really stands out how wonky it is.
yeah, yeah. And that's something that is often also I think missed. Like whether or not there are reference points for things, and I think with electronic music
Mhm.
it is easier to get away with wonkier tunings because
Right,
the reference
right.
point doesn't exist in
Yeah,
most
yeah.
cases. um, but yeah, here's another question. Is the U12t an upgrade or a side grade to the U18t?
Oh, it's better than the U18T. I don't like the U18 at all. Like, if you listen to the U18T, like it has no dynamics. Like the
Interesting.
drivers that 64 audio has used in the U18T, they're completely different from the U12T, the Tia Trio, the Forte, and the U6T and the Neo. Like the drivers in there are totally different. And the tuning itself is not bad, I want to say. It's just very mainstream. It's very mid-bassy and sort of bright. Totally
Hmm.
different from the sound signature of their other IMs. So yeah, I would definitely take the U12T or pretty much all their other IMs, honestly, over the U18T.
Now, what I wonder
Um,
about that is
hmm?
if I think we talked about it before, or this is maybe something I talked with Kern about, but the the U12T not the U12T being almost better as a universal than a custom. But what I wonder is if the U how the U18 would fare as a custom, because
Hmm.
some
Yeah,
of
that's
that
a
might
good
change.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but anyways,
Oh, the U18S is not bad though. The
right.
U18S sort of brings it back to like the 64 audio house sound, I'd say. So I would probably go for that if you're considering the U18T.
Right. Um, here's another
Oh, the
one.
Sennheiser IE900. Yeah, I bought my own Sennheiser i900, so
Oh
I like
yeah,
that one.
I still have to read your review on that.
Yeah, yeah.
I know
It's
Corona
just
loves
sitting
it.
there waiting to be
Yeah.
published.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Cool. Maybe we'll do that today. Take a look at it. But yeah, no, I need to hear that one because to me, like that's been the biggest distance between IEMs and over-ear closeback headphones is that with the dynamic driver stuff is not equatable yet, but with the
yeah.
IE900 it might be, right?
Hmm.
So
I mean, I don't think it's like gonna stack up with like over your stuff still, but it's like for an IM, for a single
yeah,
dynamic driver IM, it is pretty darn superb. Like
yeah,
it only has one real major issue, which would be the upper mid-range suppression. Like it's totally dipped in that
like
region,
3K,
but
yeah.
like 2 to 4K hertz, yeah, it's just totally
Oh
dipped. I don't
man,
know why Sennheiser does it,
yeah, I don't
but
like
other than that, it is
that.
so good. Like the bass on it is probably the
Yeah,
best I've heard in an IM, and the treble response, like I don't think it'll be for everyone, but if it hits your preferences, it's pretty darn good.
right, right. Well, I hope to hear it soon. Um,
Mhm.
Another question here: is there a particular driver type that takes well to EQ, over ears or IEMs? What should I look for in a headphone or IEM, knowing I plan to EQ it? I have somewhat of an answer for this.
I think that'd be a better question for you, as you have
Yeah,
way more experience with that stuff, I think. So I don't
the
EQ a lot, very honestly.
right, right. Yeah, for so I think that planars and E-stats are typically better with EQ, or typically better for EQ. But it's not to say that you can't EQ dynamic driver headphones as well. So technically, you could EQ any driver type, but a lot of the benefits of certain planars that are low distortion is that you can EQ them in ways that you probably wouldn't want to push certain dynamic driver headphones. Um, because distortion is like harmonic distortion is related to level, and so when you boost stuff, for example, or change the amplitude of stuff with EQ, then that can basically trigger that relationship, I guess,
Hmm.
and you could get some weird distortion products to show up. But you know, so apart from the technical aspect there, I think just you know, uh, there's also a more of a tradition of EQing headphones, like the Odyssey headphones, for example.
Right, right.
But one of the things I don't know about is like I find I'm generally not a fan of EQing IEMs either, just because it's like
I don't cue
I want to go
IEMs
outside
really.
and walk around or whatever. Right? Like I don't want to be
Yeah,
messing around and like yeah, I know you can do it,
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
but yeah. But then also if you look at with IEMs, the multi so balanced armature IEMs, almost all of them have a fairly high third and fifth, well, third order harmonic distortion, and then also fifth, sometimes fifth.
Hmm.
And I would worry that if you do too much EQ there, that could have some sort of effect on that. Because I actually think
Yeah, yeah.
in some cases that stuff is potentially audible. Like I actually think when we talk about like BA timbre, that
Hmm.
might be there might be a correlation there.
Hmm.
But so I would say if for IEMs also planars are probably better. I have to still check out that LCD I4 and because I have one in the studio, and
Takes EQ pretty well. I mean, it has
yeah,
to because
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
planar and all that, and it's so messed up without EQ.
Without EQ, yeah. So I
It's
want to
like
give
on
that a
this.
shot. Yeah, but what's funny is the Euclid as
Oh, have
because
you
that was
heard that?
yeah I reviewed that not long ago
Oh, right. Okay.
and so like it was definitely one where I felt like it needed EQ.
Hmm.
But when I was doing the more fine grained stuff, it didn't take that EQ quite as well as I wanted it to.
Oh, okay.
So I do still think there are limits,
Hmm.
So I mean the gradual EQs like adding a bass shelf and stuff like that, no problem. But yeah,
Hmm.
let's see. Oh, this is interesting. How is the 2021 version of U12t different to the older version? Is it just the cosmetics, round leather case, extra MX module? I actually have no idea. I wasn't aware of
Um,
that.
yeah, it's mostly cosmetics.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
cool. Let's see what else. If you see anything else, let me know. Um, I got to catch up here because there's a lot of questions.
There's a lot. Yeah.
Someone's asking about the MX4. I have not had the MX4 in. Ah, okay. What do you think about the Unique Melody Mest versus the U12t?
Mm, the Mest Mark II? Is that the question? Or
Yes, sorry, Mest Mark II.
okay. Mest Mark II. I kind of prefer actually the original Mest over the Mest Mark II.
Interesting.
I feel like the okay, so I complained a lot about the coherency of the original Mest, and the Mest Mark II fixes that. It's definitely a step in the right direction in that regard, and it's a more laid back sound to it in general. But at the same time, it's sort of lost a little bit of the original Mest's like special sauce factor. It doesn't have that really nice imaging that the original Mest did, and it's not quite as resolving.
Right.
Compared to the U12T, I would say that I honestly think that the bass on the U12T is better than the Mest. Um, what you notice about the Mest bass is that it's very bouncy. It's quite dynamic, but at the same time, it's not very impactful in my opinion.
Hmm.
And then the treble on the Mest, it's okay. So the first Mest, the treble on the Mest was not that great. It had like a tinny characteristic to it. Like you could really tell that it was an E-stat because, or an EST. And then the Mest Mark II fixes that a little bit, but at the same time, it's not super detailed like the Tia stuff. It's not quite as fast and doesn't have that micro detail and zing to it.
Right.
I still think it's a great IM. Like just to be clear, like it's a great IM, but I do think I would prefer the U12T over it for the most part.
And what about the original Mest? I think someone was asking that as well.
Yeah, the original Mest, I think I could see like some people preferring it over the U12T actually, because it has a more forward upper mid range, more forward presence region. So it's like very, very resolving. And it also has that insane like holographic imaging that the U12T does not have. Like when you listen to the U12T, it's got pretty good like width and depth, but it's not like holographic with insane soundstage height. And
Right.
that's what the Mest has. The original OG Mest has, at least by comparison.
I did notice
Um,
that quality as well. Like, yeah. Um, so I'm trying to see if I can find another something else on IEMs. Uh, is it worth to upgrade from Andromeda to Andromeda 2019, so not 2020, I assume,
mhm.
to the U12t? Um, if so, U12t or A12t? My answer, this is my take. I think yes, and I think U12t. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's worth it.
yeah. Let's see. Um, one, I mean, thing about the 64 audio IMs that they always go for the same shell. What's your take on, or they
Mhm.
seemingly go for the same shell for the universals?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
what's your take on that shell? Because it is a very you can compare that and
I know
contrast it
Corinne
to
hates it, but
yeah,
like
yeah.
I like it personally. Like it fits really well for my ears for some reason.
Yeah,
And I think it's just like personal
yeah,
preference in your own ear anatomy that's going to decide it.
yeah,
I like it, but not everyone else might.
yeah. I just I'm thinking of it in comparison to like some of the acrylic or the like the The Audio stuff that has
Hmm.
the or like yeah,
Yeah, yeah, some of that stuff definitely conforms better, but
yeah.
at least to my ear. But over time, like I really do prefer the 64 shells for some reason. I think part of
These.
that might also have to do with like the Apex modules, right? They're sort of releasing that air pressure, which you don't get with uh, most normal IEMs like that.
Yeah. Right. Right. That's a good point. Um, what, in your opinion, is the best portable player for the U12T, or is a phone just fine?
Oh, I mean, I use my DX300 most often, but I honestly think a phone is fine.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Source person, honestly, so I'm probably not the person to ask for that.
But you did buy the DX300.
Yes, I did.
Right on.
I did.
Yeah. Um. What? Someone doesn't like that you said the U12T base is better than the Mest Mark II.
I mean, that's my honest opinion. I've A/B'd them like
Yeah.
extensively. Like all of these items, I A/B them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I haven't heard the Mark II, the Mest Mark II. I
mhm.
wonder. I'm curious about the stuff like the Mest with a custom, just because I'm curious about how
Oh
they've.
yeah, with the
Yeah,
bone conduction
yeah. What
too.
I
I'm
wonder is
interested in
like,
that.
yeah, because the Mark One or the Mest that I heard, I was really impressed for like its technical ability, especially at the price that it came in at. But the
Mhm.
tuning I felt was just not quite right for me. And
I
but I
mean, I
what
think you said like, yeah, yeah.
the bone conduction driver. I don't know if it was really doing the
I
job.
couldn't hear it either. So,
Yeah.
like, I don't
Yeah.
think you're alone in that.
Yeah. U12T versus ZMF Verite. What do you think?
I I've never heard of ZMF
No,
actually,
no, no.
so I can't comment on that.
Yeah, I think maybe that was more for me. I it there sometimes you get questions like this where people are they're asking for comparisons between two very different things, and I think like I can understand the impulse because it's like, the I could get this or I could spend a little bit more and get this other thing, right? But the problem is that so much of the answer to that I think depends on the use case. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you are going to use it portably, well then obviously the U12T. If you're not going to use it portably, then maybe the Verite makes a little bit more sense, right? If you're just gonna, I say that it's like hanging out right here, but
Hmm.
um, also I think the tuning there it's different enough where maybe you have a preference for the U12T's tuning over the Verite or vice versa. So
Hmm.
yeah, let's see, U12T versus Odin. What are your thoughts?
Um, I think. they're on like the same playing field, like in general, but they also have very different tunings. Like the Odin is very much a upper mid-range centric IM, which is what the U12t is sort of the opposite of.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of preference and different flavors in that respect.
Yeah. The Odin, like to me, I would like the Odin better for certain
Because I feel
genres.
like you have like seesawed on it too, right? Like you could go either way, sort of,
I think so, yeah. Like
between
those are
them.
my two favorite IEMs right now that I've heard.
Hmm.
Obviously, there's more IEMs out there, but like, the Odin is the one that I would choose for, jazz and classical and that kind of stuff. Stuff where like the
Hmm.
upper mid range frequencies are not going to cause any sort of fatigue. But the U12t is the one that I think is the more versatile IEM that like you could probably use with
Hmm.
more genres.
Overall, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's like, I mean, to a certain extent, I do think I don't know. This is just for me, but like I did hear the Odin is a little more detailed. Maybe not for the treble, but like
Hmm.
for the other aspects. But yeah, I think they're both my end
Hmm.
game for a reason. But yeah, I do think that the treble detail was better on the U12t.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see. What is the first anime OST you listen to
Oh
when you
God,
get a
it's
new
Terrence
headphone
question.
hit?
Uh,
And when you're listening, do you
I
listen
don't
first
really
for
know.
enjoyment or testing?
I almost always listen first for testing. That's just sort of my default mode right now when it comes to new stuff. I
Yeah,
don't actually have a specific anime OST I listen for though. Um,
but
Trying to
eventually
ask him
you
the
get
hard
there.
questions.
Yeah, exactly. um, Someone's asking, Verite closed or Odyssey LCD XC 2021? Like people keep asking me about the Verite closed, but like I don't have Verite closed. I got asked like 3 times in the last stream. But uh, yeah, I mean, compared to I would say if you're not going to EQ the LCD XC, the Verite closed. That's probably my. But if you are going to EQ, then you could do all kinds of fun stuff with the XC. The other thing too, like for me, if I had to choose between one or the other, I would choose the Verite closed because it's extremely comfortable. And the Odyssey XC, as much as it's lighter than it was before, it's it's still pretty heavy. So I like, with that said, it's like the Verite closed is like all it's like at least $1,500 more expensive. It's like more than twice the
Hmm.
price. So it's not really. I don't know. I'd almost say the Verite closed competes more with this thing here, the Stealth. But actually, we got to get you listening to some more over your headphones. Um,
I have some right here. Got
which ones you have?
the Bayer Dynamic
Oh yeah.
1770 Pro,
All right,
which
let's
literally
get
sounds
your.
broken.
Uh,
Dude, it's so bad. Like I thought it was broken when I first put it on. I was like, what?
you haven't heard the T5P Mark II though. That is
Oh no, what is that?
it's like their high end close back, like but it's older, and because I think they're on the Mark III now. Um,
Okay,
but man, that has to be one of the worst default tunings I've ever come across. I was
Jesus.
just like, how did you make this?
You know,
Um,
what's really funny is that the 880 I have here is not bad. Like
TT
it's
880,
legitimately so much better than
but
the 1770 Pro. It costs so much less. Like
is it
I
the 250 ohm or 600 ohm?
uh I'm not sure which one,
Pro-
but yeah, it just
Probably the
sounds so much
250.
better.
Like if we sent it down, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's from you guys.
Yeah,
So
then it's the 250. I'm pretty sure.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the 880 I thought was fine, just like a little bit, a little spicy in the treble, but that's about it.
Yeah, yeah. It's like that's the
Yeah,
Bayer sound, you know.
yeah, yeah. And then you also heard the Meze 99
They
Classic.
say
Yeah.
99.
What are your thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
I mean, it's like just so it's just very warm. Like I could definitely see like people listening to it. Like it's got that sort of like musical quality to it, but at the same time I don't think it's like
Yeah,
quite all there for like detail. Like, it's just very mushy and warm.
yeah, yeah. That's my assessment as well. I think they did There was something to do with the pads there, and that they changed the pads and all this stuff. But yeah.
Hmm.
And Taryn says, "Thank you for taking the time to answer my hard-hitting questions." We got to get some more of those hard-hitting questions in here, guys. We're just
Oh
getting
dear.
spicy. we, we'll only answer the hardest hitting questions from now on. Do you read manga through the U12Ts? What?
Oh, yeah, that doesn't make sense.
uh, which VTuber sounds the best with U12T?
That's a question for FC Construct.
What is a
I don't
VTuber?
watch VTube. You know, it's like those it's like fuck. How do you describe it? It's like those people who you haven't seen it on YouTube?
No.
Like
Oh, this might have been the
it's
thing
like
that
the
Taryn was
people.
showing me, where it's like an
Okay.
animated concert or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Kind of like that. Kind of like that. Um,
That's pretty crazy.
Taion versus anime. I don't actually watch very much anime at all. I mostly read manga instead, so that's pretty easy for me.
Right. But it is
Um,
important to have a waifu mouse mat. Oh, Rob says stealth or XC. Stealth Sisvara or stealth Sisvara. But those are like they're all in different price brackets. Oh, who and what will be at Can Jam SoCal? So, um, as long as everything goes well with because Precog's is nearby, so he'll be there. But as long as
Mhm.
we're able to cross the border because we live in Canada, uh, we should be going. Like we've got plane tickets and stuff like that already. So yeah, theoretically, we should all be there. I think Grover's going. I don't think Chrono's going, because I think he's on the East Coast. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
us
So
West Coasters are all going to be going. I think. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. So Taryn showed me Vocaloids VTuber. Oh, okay. That's different. All right. I don't know. I don't know what VTubers are. All right. Let's see. Let's get some more hard hitting questions. Suggestions
Moondrop
for.
Dusk or variations. Have you
Ooh.
tried the variations?
Yes, I have a preference. I have an answer.
Oh yeah, I want to hear it. I want to know.
I prefer the variations.
Ooh, okay.
I like the Dusk. The
Yeah.
Dusk tuning is like solid, but the
Mhm.
variations is like
Variations is more technical, I
it's
think. And
it's
it's
more
better
technical, yeah,
studies texture. Yeah.
yeah, and better treble extension.
Um,
So
yeah. But if you already have a Dusk, I don't think there's any point in really dropping the extra 200 for the variations. It's
I
more
mean,
if you don't have one already.
yeah, to a certain extent, if you
Or
already
would
have the
you
Dusk, you don't need
would you go
to.
for it?
What get it? Would I get the variations if I already had the Dusk?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, I probably would.
Wow.
Um, I like. I mean, I love the Dusk. In a certain respect, like if you already have the Dusk, close the internet and walk away.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like
Right?
the
It's
best
like
item you can buy for $300.
yeah,
Right.
Dusk, or I know Super prefers the original Blessing too, but like I
D2,
personally
yeah.
preferred the Dusk, but like you know, it's the same as like those really good value headphones like Sundara and an amplifier or like K371, right? Those are definitely the
Hmm.
good enough options that are if you just want to enjoy your music, that's literally all you need. It's only when you start to like go into the like down the rabbit hole and you're like, oh man, what's the next level? Then I think something like the
Hmm.
variations is like worth looking at, as is the SA6,
Hmm.
as is the what is it, the Kiwi's Orchestra. Well, different flavors, of course, right? I think the Dusk and the variations are probably a little closer, maybe, because they both have the bass.
Hmm.
But man, actually, the variations, I really like it. It's
I
my kind
remember
of
you
thing.
telling me that the tuning looks wonky too when you
It
first saw the graph.
On the variations, it
How does
did,
that
but that's
stack?
because the scaling on because they showed their
Oh,
graphs.
right. It was like really
Yeah,
squeezed in. I remember that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and also so like it wasn't clear to me which coupler they were using, if it was supposed to be
Oh,
more
okay.
like a 0045, or if it was because like I don't know, like I think I'm the only one who's actually using the RAO402, which doesn't have that
Hmm.
coupler resonance in the treble. So
Right.
like if I had known that it was closer to the 0045 or whatever an equivalent, It might have even been a 0045. If I had known that, then I would have been like, oh yeah, the coupler resonance is there, right? But
Okay, yeah,
I initially thought, okay, like I sure hope that's a coupler resonance and not actually how
yeah,
it
yeah, yeah,
sounds.
yeah.
But I do think that it's maybe, I don't know, maybe this is just my mind playing tricks on me, but like I did hear that maybe it was a little bit forward in somewhere in the lower treble. I could be imagining this, but when I was listening, that was the only thing that really stood out to me as like a, I'd almost want like a
Okay.
little less there, but I'm also kind of sensitive to that region. So, but no, man, I liked it a lot. It's solid. But you did a review
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
did. I like it too. I think it's great.
yeah.
Um,
Someone's
it's
asking,
definitely up there with the shoot up. I would be hard pressed to choose between it and the SA6, honestly, for $500. So
what about the
yeah.
variations against the Monarch and Clairvoyance?
See, I don't like the Monarch or the Clairvoyance,
Really?
honestly. I think
Oh
it's
man,
better. Yeah.
really interesting,
I don't know. They sound
interesting.
kind of dry and incoherent to me personally,
Right.
but yeah, I know there's a lot of people who think otherwise. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. To me, someone's asking variations over the Oracle, and to me, my answer is yes. It sounded more technically impressive.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so I saw another. Was somebody asking about Sundara in 2021? There is no 2021 revision. watch them do one now after I've said that.
Right, right.
Uh, yeah, I see someone's asking Sundara 2020 versus 2021. No, there isn't. There is no revision. We measured two from 2021, and they measured the same as the one from 2020. So that there's only one change, and it was in like sometime in 2019. Couple more, and then we'll do the giveaway, guys. Couple more. Let's see. Come on, guys. Hard hitting ones. I've heard many reviews say the LCD2F is good for slam for a planar. How then would it compare to something like the HD660S? So those Sennheisers don't really slam. I know there's some people who are saying you could get it to slam if you used some crazy amplifier or something, right? Maybe you mess with output impedance. I don't know. Maybe running it off the Forge would get it to slam. But those Sennheisers, as much as they are dynamic driver headphones, they're not about the bass. I don't know what you think, Precog, about that, but because I don't know
Sorry.
the Sennheiser HD6 series and their slam quality, whether or not they have it. And my take is that they don't. So
I don't think I have it. Yeah.
no. So like as much as the LCD2F it doesn't slam as hard as like an Alex or a Clear, for that statement for a planar, I think is accurate. Like it doesn't have that sort of compressed quality that certain planars can have, and the LCD2F seems to be reasonably good for that. So, especially because you can also bass boost it like crazy if you really want to get slam, So,
Yeah.
all right, here's a question for you: best slamming
Yeah.
IEM under 1,000. Why is everybody so fixated on slam?
Slam.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the Zen had pretty good slam, even though I don't
Zen Pro.
like the tonality at all. The original Zen had better slam than
Okay.
the Zen Pro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not really one I would personally recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like to me, it was like there are certain qualities that I really liked about the Zen, but I wouldn't see a reason to choose that over the SA6 or something else in that $500
Yeah.
bracket.
What is the worst IM and/or headphone you've ever heard for the price bracket it's in? What's a fun one?
Worst? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll let you go first.
I think it was the MMR Thumbim or something.
Oh right.
It was like, holy shoot! It was like $4,500, and it sounded like
You can say
I was
holy shit
listening
on
to
this stream.
music underwater. It was so bad, man. I was like, what am I listening to? And the worst part was that it came with the channel imbalance too, like both of them,
And
the
the
Thumbim
shape
and the
is weird too,
homunculus.
right?
Yeah, it's like so spiky. Like it's like a Tesla super truck, and I'm just like, holy crap! It's just
Yeah.
I don't understand how something like that made it into production, but
Yeah.
you know.
For me, what was the question again? Worst performing headphone or IEM for its price bracket?
Yeah, yeah.
So there's obviously stuff out there that I haven't heard that is like, just a meme. Like this, I know DMS has heard some stuff that costs in the like multi thousands. That's just like,
Yeah, I saw that.
yeah,
Like some of his videos were just,
yeah.
yeah,
It's like,
that was
what is
so
this?
hilarious when I saw that one.
Yeah. To a certain extent, so I think the very obvious answer there for me is the Ultrasone Edition 15. That that one, it's not that it was like as bad as I think people were expecting given Tile's former, videos on some of the other Ultrasone stuff. So it was a lot like, it was warmer and smoother and not as fatiguing, not really that fatiguing at all. Just it did not compete at the like whatever many thousands it costed. It competed more at like the $400 price tag.
Mm-hmm.
But I have somewhat of another answer, and it's the Sendy Peacock, the one that I heard. And but I need to send it back to those guys. They said they might send another revision. But the Sendy Peacock, man, the driver damping on that was just like what?
Oh no.
Like it just DMS's description was that it sounded like muddy slugs playing on a tin can, and I was like, yep, that's
Oh gosh.
and it's like a $2,000, no, it's $1,400, something like that. But it had that same sort of like over damped blunted quality that the Drop Panda does. So that's really the issue there.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Let's see. So that was a good spicy question. I like that one. One more. We'll do one more, and then we'll do the giveaway. Something. Is Precog a robot or is he human? Not sure. Can't tell the difference.
Oh, buddy. It's our friend Peter O.
I think people
Oh my God,
accuse
dude.
me of that.
Yeah?
Which would be legitimate.
I am pretty bad at it, honestly. Like, I'm not a
only
great speaker.
I only listen to frequency response graphs with my eyes. I don't actually listen to
Right,
headphones.
right.
The Peacock Zeke considers it an LCD-X killer. No, no. Did he? Okay, that's hilarious. Oh my god. You know what's funny is I imagine that a lot of folks who are reviewing headphones aren't actually comparing them side by side. Maybe they are, but
No.
like maybe he did. I'm
don't
not
think
sure,
they
but
are.
like I think for a lot of cases they're not making those comparisons.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, even I only started doing, like, direct A/B comparisons recently, so,
yeah,
like,
I
it's really difficult when you've heard so many, like,
yeah. I mean, to
uh,
Zeos's credit, I think one of the things he does do live is compare them to different things. But
mm.
man, I don't know how anybody could think that Peacock sounds even remotely close to the LCS. It's funny that I want more people to hear it though. That's the thing. It's like when something comes out like that, like I feel like, okay, like I don't want to be the guy to like, disrupt somebody's dreams, like, or make somebody
hmm
unhappy, right? Because a lot of the time when people buy
Yeah.
this, it's like the first headphone they buy, and
Yeah.
so if they buy it on bad advice, and then there's me being like, well, turns out it's not that good, then that sucks. I saw that with a gold planer, and people were really pissed about it, because that was the
Oh,
previous hype
yikes.
train. So that's why, just for me, it's like,
Yeah.
don't listen to what I say. Just wait for more people. Just wait for more
hmm
people to
Yeah.
cover it, and then
Yeah.
see. But okay, I think we've covered
Yeah.
the spicy questions. I know that I see there's lots more, but we do have to get to the giveaway, guys. That's why you guys are all here. But okay, I'm going to queue this up. Feel free to answer more questions if you see anything there. But I'm going to
Okay.
queue this up here. All right.
Yeah, I want to hear the Visioneers Phoenix. That's one of those ones that I want to hear. Um, Hopefully they have a demo unit at CanJam that I'll be able to check out.
Wait, is that
One of
the
the other ones
same
that I want to hear is,
company that did
huh?
the Monk?
No, this is Vision Years,
Vision Ears. Okay, not VE, not Venture,
not that.
or
Yeah,
whatever it is. Yeah.
not the budget game
Okay.
company.
Okay.
The other one I want to hear is the new Empire Ears Evo. That sounds like it'll be exciting.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm hoping they have a unit for that too.
Yeah, that should be fun. Actually,
Um,
I think the Empire is at the last CanJam I went to. They were there, so maybe they'll be at this one.
yeah.
I expect. Okay, I think we're ready for the draw here, guys. And I do want to let everybody know that so with the giveaway, not all regions are eligible. So if it ends up going to somebody who's in a region that's not eligible, we'll just have to do it again. But I would like to request a drum roll from the chat, please. Once I see the drum roll, come on, guys. Then we will draw. Every giveaway requires a drum roll. Let me know if you see it. Come on, guys. Drum roll. I think it's because there's a delay. Or maybe they can't drum roll because I put it on slow mode. I see somebody types drum.
Somebody said drum, Doug.
There we go. There's the drum roll. I see it. I need those emojis.
Yep, there we
go. Aha, perfect. All right, let's go. And the winner is of the 64 Audio U12t and Dunu Blanche cable. It's rolling. It is John W. Congratulations to John W. You've just won a endgame IEM and cable. And for anybody else, well, for everybody else in the chat, just keep in mind that we do these on a monthly basis, or we try to do them on a monthly basis. So John W is the winner for this one. We will reach out to you via email. But for everybody else, definitely stay tuned for the next one. I'll do my best to announce that early in the month. But one thing to keep in mind is that this upcoming month is CanJam as well. So I'm not sure when we'll actually do the next giveaway live stream. But yeah, we'll try and announce it early in the month. So stay tuned to headphones.com/pages/giveaways to see what, or to stay up to date on what is being given away. But for this one, yeah, big thanks to everybody who participated, and John W, congrats. I hope you enjoy it. And big thanks to Precog, of course, for joining us on this one.
Yeah.
Alrighty, that does it.
Wick.
John Wick. Yes. All right, guys, that does it for the live stream. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys in the next one.
Yep.
Just gonna let this run out. And big thanks to Precog, of course, for joining us on this one.
Yeah.